I am the library maker tech at the Ann Arbor District Library now. As of 2 months ago, just recently came from Detroit Public Library. And excited to see this great Lansing Maker Week and what you're doing up here. It's great to see so many people coming together to show what they're doing with making, and very inspirational to myself. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about a survey of library maker spaces in the US. What are they? What are they doing? What can we take away from them? I'm going to talk about some common issues in library maker spaces, some things we need to think about. Then I'm going to talk about some of the workshops that are done within maker spaces, Arduino, crafting, robotics, Raspberry Pis, and then at the end there will be a Q&A session, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask then. First, here is a giant fire-breathing dragon from Maker Faire Detroit. One of the things I really like about making is you just go to maker events and you don't know what you're going to see, but when you get there you're just like blown away by the creativity and the ingenuity and the work that goes into it. So this is a dragon called Gonkiran, which was made by an artist in Detroit named Doyle, and he has been doing creations like this since he came. This actually went down to Burning Man and was shown there. So just an instance of what can be done with making if you put your mind to it. For library maker spaces, there are a few questions and issues you have to address. The first is, what is a maker space? Well, a maker space is anywhere that you make things. Library maker spaces typically will have tools for doing arts, electronics, engineering. We did bike repair and bike tech. So it's just anywhere where you're creating things and doing things. Marketing for your library maker space. You need to let the community know that you're there and that it's happening. So getting out the word on an event like Lansing Maker Week is a great way to do that. Safety. When you're creating your maker space, you have to have a safety plan. You might want to talk to your insurer. If you're doing something like laser cutting or soldering, you definitely need to come up with a safety plan. If you're doing knitting and cross stitch, maybe a little less so, but it's still something to think about. And you need to keep it interesting. Once you get a maker space started, don't get too complacent. After you've done some stuff for a few months, think about changing it up so that people who have already started want to continue to come back, as well as getting those new people to join in. And outreach. Librarianship means getting out of the library, talking to your community, seeing what they want to do, learning who they are, and making those connections as a community organization. So a survey of library maker spaces. It really took off in about 2012. That's when a number of maker spaces opened up. Westport, Connecticut, Detroit Public Library, Fort Wayne, Indiana. No two of these library maker spaces are the same, and I'm going to look at a couple of them in just a minute. There are lots of great ideas out there, so take a look around and see what other libraries are doing and kind of pick and choose what would work best for you, and incorporate those into your maker space plan. The Westport Public Library, some of the things they offer are 3D printing. They also do a code academy, so programming. This was funded by an IMLS grant, so if you're looking for money to fund, IMLS is one good source. They do a maker in residence model, so they have a person who comes in for a couple months and works on a project and works with their patrons, and then a new person rotates in after that, and it is all ages, so anybody can participate. This is a photo of the Westport makerspace. So they actually made this cool little house like right in the middle of the library. And I like this because it's not like in the basement or like in a room on the second floor where nobody can see it. So it's got great discoverability. It's nice that their administration was bold enough to just plop it right down in the middle of the library, and shows a good dedication on their part. So here is a photo of one of their maker in residences working with a young gentleman, and they're working on 3D printing with a MakerBot. And it just shows the collaboration and intergenerational work that can be accomplished through a library makerspace. The Chattanooga Public Library is another good example of making in libraries. They called theirs the fourth floor. They took the fourth floor of their library, which previously had been a storage area, cleaned everything out and said, all right, we're going to have this as kind of a community space for creating things. They offer quite a few different opportunities. They do 3D printing, they do Arduino robotics, they do an open hack night. They also do civic hacking, so looking at civic data and figuring out what they can do with that. And they do Summer of Codes. They do code summer camps for kids, all of which have been extremely popular. They host many community events in the space, and again, they are all ages, so they do not restrict. So here's a photo of the fourth floor. One thing I like that they did is they stenciled "You're in the right place" right above the door. So when people come in and they're not really sure, what this space is all about, they can look up and see that, and they're like, okay, they are glad I'm here, even though I don't know exactly what's going on. And I think that open and welcoming feeling is something that you really need to have in your makerspace. Here is another photo of the fourth floor. This is actually a 3D printing event they did about a year and a half ago. I drove down from Detroit for this to support it because I was like, wow, they're having a 3D printing day. That's great. I'll pack up our 3D printer and come support. I figured there would be 3, maybe 4 3D printers there. We'd get a few dozen people. It would just be a nice chance to support it. I think they had 16 3D printers, and there were literally hundreds of people cycling through the day and just constant conversations. And there was just such an appetite and a appreciation of their community to see this offered at the library. And there were some people who said, I've been doing 3D printing for 7 years and I built my own 4 years ago. And there were other people who said, I didn't even know this was happening and I just heard about it and walked up here and I can't believe all of this is going on right here in my community. So this is sort of the example of if you build it, they will come. Even for people who aren't sure what's going on with it, once they see it, they will see the value in it and then get inspired to do more themselves. This is a nice project that they did as part of their 3D printing day. They took a topographical map of downtown Chattanooga, split it up into sections, and then gave each group that was bringing a 3D printer a section to print. And they printed it out before the event, and then on the day of the event, they put it all together. So you can see different people use different colors of plastic in their printers, but they just put it all together, and it was nice to see how you can take a group of people and do this communal event around a one-day project. Next up, can everyone hear me okay in the back? Okay, just wanted to make sure. Next up is the Allen County Public Library, Allen County being in Indiana, just south of us. Indiana, they put a semi-trailer in the parking lot. I was just so blown away that they did that, and it really inspired me that an administration would say, okay, throw an entire semi-trailer in the lot and load it up with maker equipment and let's see what happens. So they have some pretty heavy-duty equipment in there. They've got a vacuum former, they've got a CNC router, computer controlled, they've got a drill press. So they partnered with a local makerspace called Tech Venture to do this. For libraries, partnering with makerspaces and maker people in your area is key to success. Learn from their experience, avoid pitfalls that they can help you to avoid. This is a photo of the tractor trailer in the parking lot. Again, Tech Venture helped them to get it up and running, but it's just a great example of if you think you can do it and you want to do it, you can do it. This is a photo of inside their makerspace. So they have the different areas. They have a vacuum forming station, so you can do vacuum forming of plastic over molds. They have a machine shop in the back. And this is looking down the other end. So they have some more workshops for electronics, 3D printing. So it's just one example of a library makerspace that you might not expect to see, but is out there. And again, no two library makerspaces will look the same, but this is what Fort Wayne, Indiana's looked like. Chicago Public Library. They recently opened, or it was about a year and a half ago at this point, the Make Lab in their main library. It again was funded by IMLS. I think they got $250,000 to start it. They actually have a laser cutter and a CNC router inside of their makerspace, and they had big success right away. Very good press, a lot of people coming in just interested in seeing what this was about, and businesses who wanted to use this equipment for prototyping or developing products. So this is what the Chicago Public Library's makerspace looks like. They have three 3D printers in the back. They have a nice work area with tables and lots of computers loaded up with software for doing 3D modeling and Illustrator and Photoshop for working on different designs. And they put whiteboard paint all the way around the walls, so no matter where you are in the room, you can whip out a marker and start doodling your idea down, and then somebody else can walk over and join in. Another photo of their Maker Lab from the opposite direction. So these are a lot of the 3D items that they've printed out. And it's just a very welcoming space in the center of their library. So it's very easy to find, it's not buried away. The funding that they originally had ran out, but they were able to find additional funding because it was going so well. So a program that was originally just 1 year is now in perpetuity and is still doing very well. This is my friend Rob, who works there. Rob made this shirt. I actually tweeted this out on Twitter, where I'm friends with Rob. I said, turn off the TV and make something. And Rob said, I like that. I'm going to make that into a t-shirt. And this is the t-shirt Rob made from that. So he made the design, used a digital vinyl cutter to cut out the stencil, and then used silkscreen printing to print the t-shirt. And now Rob is very proud to show this and let people know that he made this, and his friend said it on Twitter and he liked it, and I think it's a great project. All right, now I'm going to talk a little bit about the workshops that go on in makerspaces. We do Arduino robotics workshops. They teach kids electronics. Arduinos are small microcontrollers that you can create robots with. They're inexpensive, they're open source, and have a large community around them. This photo is from Maker Faire Detroit 2013. We created a robot petting zoo. The idea was there were a lot of robotics projects going on, but many of them were behind a fence or some sort of divider, so you couldn't really get up and interact with them. We wanted to create a robot petting zoo where kids could walk up and pick up the robots and interact with them, and in that way see that, yes, you can work with robots or even build your own robots if you so design. So we made our nice little farm scene, and we printed a Dalek and gave him a little cowboy hat to run his farm, and got a lot of really great results with the kids who participated with it. When you're doing Arduino, find a good electrical engineer type of person. As library staff, we can't know everything. If you're trying to be an expert on all these different areas, you're just never going to get it. We found an electrical engineer in Detroit named James, who came from Berkeley, California, and he's one of the few electrical engineers who can teach electrical engineering to the lay person and lay child. Soldering is part of what we do, and soldering is dangerous, but it's also fun. When you do solder, there are some toxic fumes that come out of it, so you need to have a plan. We were lucky enough in Detroit to have a large room with windows, so we had very good circulation. There are fume extractors and ventilation machines that can take care of the fumes, but it's something you need to be aware of. Learn the electronic basics and then work your way up. And you can buy Arduino starter kits to help. So this is what the Arduino microcontroller looks like. It's about the size of a credit card, costs about $30. If you buy a starter kit, it comes with all the extra stuff you need to start making circuits. So the starter kits are a great way to start out, and then you can buy more components as you go. And again, that open community online gives you many different projects and lots of different code and information to work from. This is a photo of the Arduino workshop in Detroit Public Library. That's our instructor, Kwame. And he would just teach the kids the basics. You know, you start out by just making an LED blink, and you feel like the king of the world. And then you move on to making servos move and adding sensors so that an input that comes into the microcontroller makes an output do something. And you just start low and build up. And it's a very good way to start because it shows you that electrical engineering and circuits, it's not this abstract thing that the other person does. It's something that you can do even if you don't have a degree in it and you're just interested. So we like Dogi, and he's working on the Arduino, and so code, much logic, many debug, very program. One tip I would give to anyone who is starting out in Arduino, there's a really good graphic novel, graphic introduction to it by Jody Culkin. So this teaches you the basics of Arduino, what it is, the basics of circuits, and it's done in a way that is very inviting to young people. It's a comic, so it just leads you through the basics of it, and by the end you can do some pretty good stuff. You can code in Arduino, you can get a few different projects going, and then once you have those basic skills, you're then ready to branch out into those different projects that you can find online by doing a little bit of research. So here is a photo of a teen using the Arduino graphic novel by Jody Culkin to do self-taught instruction on how to use the Arduino. And here's a workshop from our electronics class where we would sometimes do what we called a rec lab, where we would just take apart components that were donated and see what kind of electric circuits we could make. And they were working on making different amplifiers and sound generating tools here. And this is a coffee can that has been turned into a boom box with a small 7-watt kit. The kit cost about 20 bucks and took a little cutting and a little bit of soldering to make, but then you could have a boom box that you could walk down the street and plug in your headphone jack to your iPod or your phone, and you could say, this is the boom box I made out of a coffee can. Robotics, once you start with Arduino, you can move up to robotics pretty quickly. Parallax Incorporated is a company that sells robotics kits and parts, so I recommend that is a company to go to. Adafruit Incorporated. Adafruit is run by a woman named Limor Fried, who is a master's of electrical engineering from MIT. She creates a lot of her own components and makes them in Brooklyn, New York, and sells them. Make Magazine sells stuff through their Maker Shed. The Make Rovera 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive are two nice robotics kits that are out there. And there are lots of plans and code available online. So if you're interested in it, don't feel scared to jump in. There's lots of assistance out there to get you going. Planning. Buy a lot of AA rechargeable batteries because you will be going through them very quickly. Buy Plano organizing containers. Plano are plastic containers that have a lot of compartments. You're going to have a ton of stuff. Sterilite containers are also good, but for electronics, we really like Plano organizers. Use recycled or donated materials. People have computers, printers, all sorts of stuff at home. Accept donations, see what you can do with it. Take them apart, pull out components, and create new things. And also use open source software and hardware. Almost all the software we use is open source and free. So we just use whatever the open source option is and save money that way. This is a picture of the Parallax robot kit that can work with an Arduino. So it costs about $150. And this is a robot that one of our teens made. He actually found the plans for it online, and he purchased additional sensors so that it could follow a line around using infrared light. And it's just an example of, give the teens the basic skills or your users, and then they will take it to new areas. Here is another photo of the robot petting zoo. So again, all the kids were allowed to come around and touch the robots and hang out on the farm. And the farm got a little chaotic at the end, but that's okay. We were having a good time. And again, another photo of the robot petting zoo from a different angle. We also used spin bots. Spin bots are kind of simple robots where you can put markers onto them and they'll spin around and do geometric designs. And it's a good way, it's a very cheap way. The spin bots cost about 20 bucks, and it's a good way to get younger kids interested in working on this stuff. And here's another photo of the robot Daleks tending to their farm and their farm animals with their cowboy hats. Any questions so far, or everything's good? Okay. Next, I'm going to talk about crafting workshops. So there's all this high-tech stuff going on in maker spaces, and that's great. We love that. But there's traditional crafting and skills that we don't want to forget about because they have value as well. Libraries have done crafting programs forever. We can see them all over the place. If you go to Joann's or Michael's in your community, you can get materials. Also, you can use donated or recycled materials here as well. And if you partner with crafters or craft collectives in your area, you can get the skills and experiences of those people and use them. So here's a photo of a a knitting workshop going on at the Detroit Public Library. Here's a project that is going on right now. Hands Occupied is a project by a woman named Heidi Gustad, MSU alum, go Heidi. So what she does is she does knit-alongs where she posts on her website videos about how to knit things, and then you can follow along as they go. And currently she is doing this sweater. So if you're interested, you can go to handsoccupied.com and join and knit along. And Valerie, who is in the crowd, is working on it. Valerie, can you hold up your sweater that you're currently working on? See, it's coming along. So Valerie also works at Ann Arbor District Library and has never knitted a sweater before. Have you, Valerie? No. First sweater. So if you want to follow along, this is something you can do and support an MSU alum all at the same time. We also do cross-stitch. So this is video game cross-stitch. Again, very cost-effective. You just get material, thread. You can find patterns such as this one online if you do a Google search for cross-stitch pattern and whatever you're interested in. These happen to be Pokemon cross-stitch, and they were very popular with our teens. And again, it teaches a traditional skill that's maybe fallen by the wayside and does it with a modern twist to kind of get the interest back. We also did papercraft. So these are characters from Doctor Who, an Ood and a Dalek. These are called Cubecraft. It's C-U-B-E-E craft. And again, you can find those through Google searches very easily. And all it takes is a cutting mat and an X-Acto, and you can cut it out and then carefully fold them together, and you have these really cool characters. Very cost effective. All you need is a color printer and some cardstock, and away you go. You can also do Downton Abbey papercraft. For those who follow Downton Abbey, these are the evil characters, Thomas and O'Brien. And we know that they're evil because we have an evil mask, we have an evil soap, we have evil facial hair, and we have evil flour. Even the flour didn't escape. So again, this is something just found on the internet, and then you can print it out, do the program, very cost effective. Raspberry Pis. Raspberry Pis are another new tool that have come along. It's a Linux computer the size of a credit card. About 2 million have sold, so there's this great community all over the world working on them. And you can do different projects, including host your own Minecraft server right on the Linux credit card computer. And you can do customized worlds, you can do mods, and you can play it with your friends. So it's a great way to introduce Linux and the command line, but making it in an approachable way. So working with Raspberry Pi, you want to find a computer science or programmer person to work on this. In our case, we had a teen who was a former member of our teen center at Detroit Public. He then went on to major in computer science at Wayne State, right across the street. We said, hey, do you want to come back and teach video game programming? And he said, I'd love to. I already do video game mods and customizing in my spare time. So we bought some Raspberry Pi starter kits. Also, one thing we recommend, they don't tell you, but if you buy an external USB hub, it really helps because just the keyboard and the mouse draw a lot of power from them. So if you get an external USB, it helps. And it has an HDMI computer out, so if you have an HDMI monitor, that will work. This is what the starter kit looks like, so it just gives you that extra stuff to kind of get everything working, because if you buy just the computer, it's this credit card computer, and you're like, there's no wires, there's no power, what am I doing here? The starter kit takes care of all of that and makes life so much better. As promised, the Minecraft Pi Edition. This is the Raspberry Pi running Minecraft, so it's something you can download and get going. And here is a workshop with our teens using the Raspberry Pis. Again, these are the Raspberry Pi computers, just the size of a credit card, and they have created their own worlds and are now administrating them. You can also use Scratch on Raspberry Pis, which is an MIT programming language that's very visual and a great way to get kids started on programming. And even though it might seem all very simple, Flappy Bird, which was very popular recently, very simple game, but the developer had millions and millions of downloads. So if you have a little creativity and do something different, it can go a long way for you. A few more slides and then I'll wrap up and take all your questions that you might have. Resources. These are some websites that I like. I do have my slides on SlideShare, so I'll give you the link to that so that you can download this. So don't worry about feverishly scribbling these down right now. But makerspace.com, hackerspace.org, those let you know about makerspaces, hackerspaces in your area, and the others just have some really nice instructions on how to do projects and where to get components. Final tips, find good people and give them support. The people in your makerspace are everything, because if you don't have good people, you're not going to go a long way. And one thing I like to say is the best things that are made in makerspaces aren't the physical things. A lot of people kind of focus on what am I making, what do I get? But really that interaction and that learning of skill and that development of confidence that you see in users when they're explaining what they've learned to other people, those are some of the best things that come out. Libraries have a special niche in the maker movement. We're never going to be a full-fledged makerspace unless we're in Fort Wayne, Indiana, apparently. But we're trusted community organizations that are centrally located. People know where to find us, and they trust coming to programs we offer. A lot of maker spaces, hacker spaces, are warehouses on the edge of town with people dressed all in black going in and out at all times of the day or night, which is fine. They're very nice people. But if you're a parent, you might not feel as good about dropping off your child there for a workshop. Libraries, we can do a lot. Even if we don't have welding and all these metal tools, we can still do some pretty good stuff with what we have. And then, for people who participate, if they want to go that next step, we can say, well, if you like this, check out this makerspace over here, or check out what this group at the university in town is doing. So we can kind of bump people up to a higher level once they're done with us. If you're not ready to have a dedicated space, although the one at East Lansing Public Library is gorgeous. You can just host an open hack or open make night. So just invite people from the community to come in and show what they're doing and let people meet and see what they can do from there. And finally, have fun on the journey. It's always about enjoying what you're doing and liking the process and learning and meeting people. And remember, every day I'm hustling. Have fun working on it. Keep pushing through even when the roadblocks come up, because they always do. But have your vision and just keep working on it. And my good friend Jeff Sturgis, who works at the Mount Elliott Makerspace in Detroit, who was recently made an MIT Media Lab Director's Fellow, he likes to say, big is small and slow is fast. So don't worry about doing the biggest and greatest thing right off the bat, and don't worry about doing it right now. Just kind of start where you're familiar or where you're comfortable, and then just work and branch out as the time comes and it's ready to do so. And finally, please keep in touch. I'm always happy to talk about maker spaces or tools or how the Wolverine season is going to go the rest of the year. So this is where I can be found. I am at Telephase on Twitter, where I like to talk to library people. Or if you want to email me, I am teeri@aadl.org. And finally, do you have any questions? Thank you for having me.